whether we're going to get a new job. And sometimes we even take a pay cut. And we're just like, well, I want them to accept me. We're just wanting people to accept us, but we're not valuing ourselves.
Welcome to Working Women Mentor, a podcast that empowers everyday women like you, like me, to share and learn from life's mentor moments. I am your host, Rani Alfers, and in each episode, you will meet inspiring women that understand the power of recognizing mentor moments and how those moments can change it all. These fabulous women are here and ready to share it all with you. So let's dive in. Hey everyone, I'm so excited for you to meet Mary Guirovich today. She's a #1 best-selling author on Amazon. She has a career coaching strategy system. She's a speaker, she's a leader, she is a fantastic woman. She is sharing some phenomenal on workplace advice. It's that simple. It's how do we approach our review? How do we value ourselves? How should we look at where our confidence is coming from and where it needs to be? If you've ever had a limiting belief in your professional career, this podcast is for you. Her mentor moment, her tips and advice, and the action plans that she's going to share with you in this episode will give you something to think about. I cannot wait for you to meet her in today's episode. Mary, thank you for joining Working Women Mentor today. It's a pleasure to have you.
Oh, thank you so much, Rani.
Mary, we have so much to talk about today, but I want to start with women in the workplace because that's where all of us are right now. What are you working on that is helping the women in your professional career and in your life?
Yeah, so I help women go from passed over to promoted. So whether you're looking to get your first advancement, whether you've been advancing and you're just not sure that you're earning the potential that you want, or it's not advancing as fast as you want, or maybe you're in the upper ranks and you just want to continue to advance and add value and grow yourself, then I help people through what I call the My Promotion Plan experience. So you can learn the 7 steps that I use.
Have you just noticed a tremendous increase in your business since the Great Resignation and since our time with COVID? Everyone has reevaluated their skill set. Also, I feel like they've reevaluated what they want to do in their future and in their life. How has that changed for you over the last couple of years with your clients?
Yeah, so I just hear more and more stories. It feels like people are willing to step up and have the conversations. So I think many women have had experiences that are unfortunately not positive. And now the stories are coming out and people are starting to take a stand for themselves. And so I say, believe in yourself. And that's the biggest thing because I've seen women of all ages, and that's been one of the most rewarding things. They're like, well, I thought that I'm in my 40s, I'm in my late 40s. I didn't think that I was going to need to worry about advancing my career. This wasn't something that was on my radar. But now that I've heard your message, I'm like, this is absolutely something I want to do. Or even people that are a little bit older in their 60s saying, I never even knew that I could go into another career field because they're having this new belief in themselves. And so the whole world has opened up. It's just beautiful to hear that women at all ages are saying, hey, I want to be respected in the workplace. I want to own my career. I want to be able to advance my career. I want to be able to have equal opportunities. And they're harnessing that by connecting with mentors and coaches that can help them get to that next level.
Mentors can be everywhere. It can be anyone that is around you who does take that time to support you and your needs and help you grow. Our show is all about women in the workplace and mentorship. I have to ask you, what is the mentor moment that you'd like to share with us today, Mary?
The biggest mentor and the mentor moment that I would like to share is just really about my boss, Charlie. He took me under his wing. I was switching careers and I went into working in the wellness industry when I was originally in the hospitality industry. And I didn't even know how this was going to work. But he just constantly showed me things. And it was funny. He messaged me today and he's just like, hey, I was thinking about you. But he always took time to coach me and to ask me questions and to give me insights. He was never really telling me what to do. And so there were so many conversations that we had, but one moment, this advice that he gave me was consider and think about who you're following. Think about who you want to lead you. And that was one of the most impactful questions because it made me get really intentional about the other mentors I wanted to have and about who I wanted to follow. And that really came down to character. It's so important because we can start to follow the wrong people that don't have the same values that we have. because we're trying to chase something, right? Desired result. And it's like, okay, this is the best way to get there. And you have to be careful about the person's character that you're following.
Imagine hearing that is one thing, but when you actually put it into action and take that step back and evaluating those around you and maybe even the place you'd like to be, that's another chapter, isn't it? That's really putting this advice into action.
It absolutely is. One of the most amazing things is that my mentor at the time, he knew where I was in my journey. He had already learned that lesson. So here I was now having to learn this lesson. And there was a person that I was following, and the truth is they were giving me all this advice like, "Sacrifice everything, your friends, your family, everything, sacrifice it all." And
Work all
and I
night long. Don't stop. Yes.
yeah, and it's like, yes, you do have to give up some things to get what you really want. There are sacrifices you have to make, but when it came down to it, when we looked at our religious views, I was a follower of Jesus and this person wasn't. And I really, for me, my mentors need to align with my faith because Jesus tells us to do things in one direction. And if I'm following other mentors, it's not to say I can't learn things from them. It's not to say they can't teach me things, but I always have to put it through the filter of, does this also align with my personal values? And part of this journey was learning who I was authentically and learning to accept and trust my knowing and my being inside. And so it looked like me discerning from, okay, you can teach me how to run Facebook ads, but you can't teach me how to build my schedule. Giving that discerning. And then there's other people where it's just like, oh, your character is so rich. And it's not just your faith, but it's the way you live out your life each day. It's the way you treat other people. It's the way you show up. And okay, I'm going to follow you. Like I'm all in. And Mark Cole, the CEO of the John Maxwell team, he is like my all in person. I'm like, you're doing it. I'm following. What are we doing? Because he's just shown his amazing character time and time and time and time again. And it's just someone I want to follow.
And this has to have changed for you over time because where you were then, I'm sure, is a whole different place than where you are today in your journey. And how have you noticed this filter changing and evolving that you apply to everything? Have you noticed a difference in the quality and the life that you're now leading because of your efforts and being so intentional in this?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's a great question. We have to learn to believe in ourselves and trust in ourselves and believe the voice and the vision that we have, even when other people don't see it, because we have to be able to lead ourselves. And when we can lead ourselves and we have our truth and we know what we believe in, then we can find those that complement what we're doing and those that really also believe in what we're doing. It won't be everybody. There'll be people that fall to the wayside, and there'll be people that we don't want to have as mentors or people we don't want to follow, but it'll make it really clear the people that are on board with the direction that you want to go. But you have to really authentically know who you are. And so for me, that meant I had to let go of people pleasing.
And women are so good at that, aren't we? That's a common trait. That's something that we share and learn to work through. You've had to make some adjustments.
Absolutely, because people pleasing is built out of fear. We're fearing that if we don't please someone, then there's going to be something bad that happens, right? It's all built out of fear. It's striving, it's stress, it's not getting to be your authentic self. And it's really challenging because you're like, well, where am I at right now? Okay, I have to put on this hat, then I have to put on this hat. And it's like all of these things to remember. And when you could just be authentically you and you can just say, okay, this is me. You either like it or you don't. It just becomes so much more freeing. And so the work is really just trusting, believing, and accepting yourself, and then taking off the mask. And when we can do that, we'll start to connect with people authentically, and our lives become enriched. And you don't have to try to act to be authentic. You just have to be yourself, but not be afraid to be yourself because of what others might think of you.
And Mary, on your journey to becoming your authentic self, you actually wrote an Amazon bestseller entitled God's Not Done With You. First of all, I love this title. It's powerful. I'd love to know what inspired you to write this book and the generosity behind it.
Thank you for that. And thank you to everyone that has purchased and supported the book and the book launch. It's just so amazing, the incredible support. I first started to write the book. I thought, okay, I'm going to write a book to help women advance in their careers. And I wanted to help people that potentially I wasn't going to be able to reach in any other way, but perhaps they would pick up a book. And for me, this was twofold because it was that I did want people to have the ability to have access to the information and the system that I'll talk about in a second. But the other thing is that up until August of 2019, I didn't believe that I was capable of writing. I started struggling with spelling and reading and writing when I was a little girl. just 6 years old. And I held on to that belief all the way up until the time that I heard Bruce Lipton speak. And when he shared about how our subconscious programs are made and how we run these programs over and over and over again, it was in that moment as the tears were streaming down my face that I just declared, this is why I cannot write and spell, and I'm not a strong reader, but I'm going to change that belief today because I have a choice to do that. And then I started to write the book at the beginning of 2020. And it's unique because the book helps women advance in their careers. And I wanted to write this book because I struggled to advance. And I wanted to just share this process with others. The pandemic hadn't happened yet. Women's careers were not as heightened as they are today. The first section of the book is called A Woman's Place, and it helps us to understand the challenges, the obstacles, and the opportunities that women face in the workforce and how we can view these as a way of leveraging the data to actually fuel our belief in ourselves. Because there are things that women face, whether it be more child responsibilities, whether it be implicit biases, whether it be just social perceptions and social media and all these things. These are real things that are affecting women. But the truth is, we can look at that data and we can also say we are completely capable, because there's a lot of things whenever we look at all the studies that were done that show implicit bias exists. When you look at the truth of those studies, when the gender is removed from the studies, women are usually seen as more capable.
You said to leverage the data to fuel belief in ourselves. Would you give us an example of one of your clients or someone that you've worked with who started with those very limiting beliefs, and where are they today? What does that journey look like for someone who may be listening?
One of my clients, when she was in my program, she was in the My Promotion Plan program, but as she was having her weekly calls with me, she would ask questions like, should I really be advancing in my career right now because I want to have another child? And she's like, maybe this isn't the right time. And I encouraged her that if you're going to remain working, then you should absolutely be advancing in your career. Now, obviously, that may not be the right choice for everybody. You need to check in with yourself. But here's the thing, your work ethic is not going to diminish because you become a mom. We become a mom and only get stronger. In this woman's case, she went ahead and she put her promotion plan together. It's this process I teach women to be able to go in and ask their boss in a meaningful way to ask for advancement. She put it together because she had amazing ideas. She wanted to advance in her career. She wanted more responsibility, and she wanted to be able to increase her compensation. And so she put her plan together and she had a great meeting with her manager. She actually reached out to me the other day and she's just said, I cannot thank you enough. She just had her second child. She is doing the work. She has more free time than she's had before, and she's enjoying her job more. So sometimes we think when we move up that we're going to have more work to do, but the work just kind of changes. And depending on your personality, it can actually be more rewarding.
We sometimes think the worst and we don't know how things are going to turn out. So I feel like our brain just starts to go in the negative direction sometimes, or that limiting direction. And when it does, we shift our mindset and something ends up working out. We're always so surprised. It's like, oh, I didn't even think that could happen. It's so interesting to me how that happens time and time again until we develop more trust in our thoughts and our actions and our behavior. Mary, you give advice and you're helping women grow, but what are three pieces of your best career advice you'd like to give us?
And Rainey, just before I answer that question, I just wanted to say what you just said was so important. And the whole premise of this show with mentors, it is so important. Don't think that you don't need a mentor or a coach to help you in the career advancement process. We usually look to the past. We look in the little rearview mirror and we see what's behind us. And we see those mistakes. We see the time we messed up. We see the time we were late one time, or, gosh, I had a woman in our program. She said, I had to call off the other day or call in late because her father in law was rushed to the hospital. Should I still have my career advancement meeting? Absolutely.
Yes.
Right? But if
Yes.
you're having these questions in your head, like, should I advance if I have a child? How much should I ask for? Like, these are the things we think we need to figure it all out on our own. And the truth is that when you have a mentor, you can actually advance even further. This will be the second piece of advice is you want to know what the value of your position is and know how to value yourself properly. There has been this bad way of figuring out what we should earn in our next position. And it usually just looks something like this. Well, I earn X today. I just like to earn a little bit more. I'll feel good with this amount. And whether we're going to get a new job, and sometimes we even take a pay cut. And we're just like, well, I want them to accept me. We're just wanting people to accept us, but we're not valuing ourselves. And the truth is that others will only value us as much as we value ourselves, but we have to know what our market value is. So I was working with one woman. She wanted to go into a different position, and she was making, just say, let's just call it 80 before. She was making 80 grand before. So she's like, okay, I just want to make 85 grand because that'll be really good for my family. She felt like that increase was meaningful to her. I was like, okay, that's good. And now let's look at what that position actually pays. And so she did the research, we figured it out, and she gave her manager a range of between 100 and 110,000. Well, when they came back, they split it in the middle, and she was offered 105,000 plus other bonuses. And the thing is, if she would have went in and asked for 85, she probably would have got 85, because a lot of employers out there are not just going to say, okay, if this position pays this much, they're going to give you what you're asking for. And so just by knowing how to value yourself, she was able to increase her salary by 25 grand when she was just going to settle for 5. The third piece of advice that I have is prepare to go in. So a lot of people will go in and ask for a promotion or a raise. They go in empty-handed. And I've been a manager, I've been an executive. What I hear usually is, I'm not sure what to say right now. That is not how you want to approach your meeting. You want to be prepared. You want to know what you're going to say. And you want to write down. You want to write down your accomplishments. People think that, oh, my boss will just remember all the good things that I've done. They won't. And there's even studies that show that when it comes to women, they actually don't remember all your accomplishments as much, and they don't remember the value of those. So you want to do that work for them. But then the secret sauce, Rainey, is not just that, but you also want to think about the future, and you want to present them with ideas for the future so you can actually create loss aversion if they don't advance you. Because now you've presented, hey, here's all these ideas. I've solved these problems. This is where the company needs to go. And I would like to do this work.
And I love that, Mary, because it makes it easy for the employer. It makes it easy for you as well, because one has an expectation. And that's what a lot of this boils down to at some point, right? It's what are our expectations on both sides of the table? And I love your advice to everybody be prepared and paint that picture. Make it easy. And it's amazing what can happen when you make things easy for people.
Yeah, because if you're not confident in yourself, they're not going to be confident in you. And so you want to go in there prepared, because we know that preparation breeds confidence.
It sure does. It really does, in any area, by the way,
Yeah.
not just talking about your job. So we've touched on mentorship. In your opinion, can women improve as a whole and to help each other and to give and receive mentorship in the workplace? What is your advice for the women listening as they are growing in their careers? What can they do next with regards to mentorship?
In regards to mentorship, what we need to do is we need to have a growth mindset. And so we just want to have this open mindset that doesn't say, well, if one woman succeeds, I can't. And we actually want to lift other women up. When there are more women leading in your organization, it now becomes the norm. A lot of organizations, you'll see they'll still just have either 0, 1, or sometimes 2 people either in their executive ranks or the upper levels. But what we actually see in the studies is that if at least 30% of the higher ranks are composed of women, then the companies outperform those in those same categories that don't have women in leadership. So raise each other up, give each other a voice. If you see injustices happening, it's not that you have to call them out, because I'm just going to say it could just be uncomfortable and you don't always get a good response. It's unfortunate. So it's not that you have to go to bat, but you can encourage other women in a very positive way. So you could just point out something. Wow, that idea that you had was really amazing. Give an idea at a meeting and, it seems like it's going to be adopted by somebody else. You could just say, hey, Stephanie had that really great idea like 5 minutes ago. That was so awesome. And so you can really just point out the good things that other women are doing and get them as allies. You guys can share information. Don't become critical of each other. It's this very strange thing. One woman even told me when I was going to advance in my career, she said, I don't want to be led by another woman. I just get
Mm.
along better with men. Well, if you feel like that's your personality, I just want you to look at yourself and just ask yourself, like, well, why is that?
Why is that? That's a wonderful question to ask.
Why is that? And so we want to just start to learn ourselves. And I think it goes back to the very first thing that I shared with the being authentic. It all is about self-awareness. If you're going to be a better mentor, you have to have awareness of who you are and that others don't operate like you, and have the belief that just because somebody else succeeds, that you can too.
On the note of sharing positive things about someone and helping others and supporting others, we asked you to text one of your friends and ask them, how would you describe me in a few words or a sentence to someone that has never met me? Because our listeners haven't met you yet, but I know they will going forward. So tell me what came back to you when you sent this text out.
Yeah. So the main things that people say, or the main thing that my friend said is, you're always there and you're real, like you're accessible, right? Like it's not that I have to come and try to be somebody that I'm not. I can just be open and honest, and you are understanding without trying to fix my problems.
How did you feel when you read those messages that you received back?
Uh, It was so empowering to get those messages back. And just, it feels good to hear good things from others. And I've done exercises like this in the past. And I'd even asked for the things like, tell me something you're not good at. And it's like, okay, because like I said about that rear view mirror, we have a tendency, somebody could tell us 5 good things about ourselves, but you hear one bad thing and you just get stuck on that bad thing. So it's just encouraging to hear those positive things come back, and how you're really an asset and you help other people. And it's so meaningful when people send a nice message. It just means a lot to me, especially as a words of affirmation person.
Mary, I appreciate you sharing those words with us. And would you tell our listeners where they can find you?
So you can find out more at maryguirovich.com. And I also share my entire system in my book, God's Not Done With You. So if you're a reader, you can go and get the book. And if you're not a reader, you can head on over to maryguirovich.com. And I actually have a free masterclass that you can watch called Why Earning a Promotion Feels So Dang Hard and What You Can Do Instead. So you can learn the 7 steps that I use to go from passed over to promoted and even being made a partner.
Oh, Mary, your advice today has been fantastic. I can't thank you enough for joining us. And we will include how to find you in our show notes and our episode details.
Thank you. It's been an honor to be here, and I look forward to connecting with everyone.
Thank you so much for joining us on this episode. I hope you'll walk away feeling inspired and are thinking of how a mentor moment can help you or someone you know. In case you haven't hit the follow button to subscribe to this show, please do so. And if you love the episode, I'd really appreciate a review. You see, this review helps Apple or Spotify or whatever platform you're listening to us on know that other women just like you want to learn about the show, and it'll help us spread the word. Let's connect on Instagram at Working Women Mentor or at Rani Alfers. You can find all episodes online at ranialfers.com/podcast, and the ability to send an audiogram of your favorite mentor moments. And we respond to everyone. I truly can't wait to hear from you. Check back weekly for new episodes, and cheers until the next episode.